Hey, everybody. I am really excited for rapid fire marketing. We've got a lot of great questions for the panelists today. But before we dive in, Scott, you're to the right of me. Give them that quick intro of who you are.
Scott Kolbe, Market Your Craft, Denver, Colorado.
Scott will share beers someday. I'm really looking forward to that day. And Amy, great to see you again.
Hi, I'm Amy Martin. I am the marketing manager at Stormcloud Brewing Company in Frankfort, Michigan.
Well, nice to have you on the panel. And a big shout out to the bottom row, because in less than 2 weeks, I'm going to get to see all three of you in person at CBP Connects in St. Louis. So I don't normally get to say that on panels like this. So pleasure to have you today. Really looking forward to a couple weeks from now. But Bryant, you get to give that official intro first.
Yes. My name is Bryant, founder of Full Pour Media and darling, revered personality in the St. Louis world. I went to middle and high school there, and it's safe to say everybody there loves me. No, I love the Missouri Brewers Guild. I love the St. Louis beer market, the Missouri craft market, Missouri craft industry, excuse me. And yeah, I'm super duper looking forward to seeing everybody there for sure.
It's going to be somewhat of a homecoming.
Yes.
And Julie, you're taking a really long road trip on your way to St. Louis. Is that correct?
Yes. Let's hope that I make it there in one piece. I'm going to be in an RV with my family for like 12 days. So that'll be an adventure.
So I know you're going to stop by a lot of breweries, but outside of those obligatory stops, is there anywhere along the route you're really looking forward to?
I'm going to a fictitious town in Iowa called Okoboji that has
Been there.
Of lakes and stuff.
Been there. Yep.
Super curious about this pretend place that has like university merch and like random things that I've seen. And I had never been there before. It is on suggestion of a couple of my clients, and apparently it's like a really funny long-standing joke with like Okoboji University, but like it doesn't exist. I don't know. You can tell I'm not from the Midwest. Who knows? But we're gonna go through there, and I'm gonna let my kids swim and all that good stuff. And yes, I am visiting. Sorry, my dog is having an allergy attack down here. Hopefully you can't hear that. But I'm Julie Rhodes, by the way, Not Your Hobby Marketing. And yes, I have brewery insider clients all over the US, including Canada as well, and a few in Europe. But yeah, I'm going to be at CBP Connects. I have no tie to St. Louis. I have not been there since I was like 6 years old. And I remember going to the Arch, and that's it. So I'm super excited about going and going to a Cardinals Cubs game. I'm stoked about that. Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. And I feel like you have to get one of those Okoboji t-shirts.
I will definitely get some merch in Okoboji for sure.
Well, Warren, I know you and I have seen each other face to face a couple times, but it's been always really, really brief. I do feel like I've known you because we've got to know each other so well on the internet. But for everyone who hasn't had the opportunity to see you in person or virtually over the past few years, who are you and what do you do?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry if you have had that chance. I apologize in advance. But I am Warren Bondi, co-founder and lead marketing guy here at Beer Marketeers. We do marketing, web development, web design for breweries, distilleries, wineries, and cannabis companies throughout the country. And yeah, I'm not as cool as everybody else on this panel, but I'm pretty pumped to be here, and maybe I'll learn something from them too. I'm sure I will.
Well, let's dive in. Let's talk some marketing. So as we gear up for the event we've just talked about in St. Louis, I've tried a bunch of really unique marketing strategies for it. And I've asked three of you to awkwardly make me a Facebook reel, 30 seconds or so, why you're excited for this event. And I think that was a challenge for a lot of us to make these quick little videos. But I do have to brag for a second because everybody made awesome videos, first off. But I made the one the other day with my assistant Wes, who's going to be joining us in St. Louis, and it actually got more views than Allison from Lady Justice. So Allison, if you're watching, I beat you. It was two guys on a tandem. It was a really cool little video. But for all of you marketing experts, what should breweries be thinking about when it comes to short form video? Should we be using things like TikTok? Amy, at your brewery, are you using reels on Facebook? I'd love to hear what you're seeing, what you're doing. Any thoughts?
Right now, we had a TikTok that was run by our intern. It's kind of on hiatus. It has for us, not necessarily been an essential tool, but that is primarily because our clientele is much older and not necessarily part of the TikTok generation. It is something that we plan on getting back to, hoping to lure in some young kids, but it's just our area is so remote. It's not essential for us.
We're going to dive into remote locations in a little bit, but anybody else have any thoughts on just short form videos?
A couple of our
videos
clients.
yet. Ooh, see, this
Sorry,
is one of those where we're going to talk on top of each other.
Raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand.
I'm going to raise my or press a button or something.
Go for it,
I
Julie.
love short-term video or short-form videos, but I also I think you also have to define what is short, because that's a relative term. Because some people think, like a 2 to 5 minute Instagram video might be short, and then for like Reels or TikTok or something, like it could be 13 seconds. Who knows? My takeaway very quickly is, if you can get like a 1 to, I don't know, 3 or 4 minute video of some interesting stuff, and then chop it apart with like Canva or the YouTube like video editor, or like use a free tool that's easy to understand. Don't make it hard on yourself. But repurpose that into like multiple clips, or put some on Instagram, or maybe put a few on TikTok, or kind of spread it out a little bit, but just make the most use of your content. But I think lots of consumers have squirrel brains, and retail buyers too. So short form's great. And video is always fun because it's a little bit more personal.
I agree. Scott, what are your thoughts?
I think the short form video that has the greatest pull for some of our clients is Brew Day, where you actually show the process behind the scenes, brewery shenanigans, where it's just impromptu B-roll style stuff, and then breaking it down for home brewers and enthusiasts who really want that lifestyle and helping them to bridge that gap.
Do you believe, and this can be for anyone on the panel right now, there needs to be a goal for these short form videos, or can you just have 30 seconds of randomness? I know, Warren, when you made the video for the St. Louis event, you ended it with yourself like shotgunning a beer. Like, I didn't know where this was going. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, there's the hook. How important is having a hook in these quick little videos?
Yeah. Well, I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be unique. I think something that both Scott and Julie mentioned already was something interesting, right? Like what is the interesting thing? It's the kind of, to me, the short form video versus just keeping it images or whatever it might be. It's all the same in terms of what you should and should not be posting, right? Don't post it if it's not interesting. So if you're going to go and make a video, make it fun, make it interesting. Like Scott said, like Julie said, if there's something that you have information wise, awesome. If it's something that's fun behind the scenes or educational or whatever it might be, to me, that's where you can really live, right? So make that content that's interesting. If it's 30 seconds, great. The one note I will add too, on top of everybody else here, is that I've actually been using TikTok as a form of editing clips together to kind of help the entry level person edit these clips, right? It's very easy. And for the folks who are like, man, I don't need a TikTok right now, cool. You don't have to have one. Officially, you could just keep posting these videos on there until one day people you're following is on TikTok, and you're like, oh, cool, I already have 20 videos on here because I've been making them here and then posting them to Reels on Instagram, and they're edited with music in the background and so on. So just a little something there that I've been using.
And I think too, I mean, everything has a purpose, right? I mean, even how many hazies you have on tap and how many, lagers and styles, just as you brew styles to fit your brand, and I'm going to probably keep coming back to this, is your style guide and your brand guidelines and everything. I mean, I kind of just like what Warren said and what we've been touching on is people always say, how do I get more engagement? How do I get Reels? I mean, video content, Reels. That's how you get more engagement. But it ain't, brew days are great ways to stay on brand and show the brand. I mean, but make sure whatever content you're producing moves you forward. It's not even a lateral move, right? It adds value of some type, even if it's just 30 seconds of get to know our process or something. I mean, have a style guide even for the little tiny one-offs, and make sure that all of your content serves that purpose.
And Bryant, do you believe the algorithms on sites like Instagram and Facebook are favoring video content?
I do. I mean, they came out, I believe, last year. Instagram came out and said we're no longer a photo sharing platform. We are officially a video sharing platform. We are favoring reels. We are now. They're not even the almighty algorithm is not even favoring TikTok rebranded content so much as it is native IG content. And even flip over to Facebook, and now they're going to start doing reels. They're going to start doing their own kind of self cannibalization of reels into Facebook, and I'm sure you're going to start to see even more sort of favoring algorithms of native Facebook things and native Instagram things. So posting one video across 3-4 different media gets the job done, but it ain't quite what's gonna really serve your engagement levels.
And Amy, what are you seeing? You're the only one here who's actually at a brewery. So at Stormcloud, what are you seeing with regards to types of content that's best received and gets the largest reach?
I would absolutely say video. I guess I didn't really answer my question regarding short form video, just TikTok, but we do a lot of funny, goofy things like drinking beer underwater. We're in a beach town, and yeah, I don't know, interviewing our brewers, but very quick. And yeah, I would absolutely agree that video content is where it's at and where it's continuing to develop to be.
How in the world do you drink beer underwater without? Explain this to me, please.
Okay, so I didn't actually drink it underwater, but we opened it. It was a dark beer and poured it into a glass while swimming underwater. So it looked like it, and then pretending to take a sip of it.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let it slide. Now, Brian, I want to go back to video for a second because the bulk of your business is focused on video. What other types of video content should breweries be considering these days?
I would say if you can dream it, you can do it. Again, as long as it fits that content strategy, as long as it serves your purpose and your brand. I mean, even simple, easy to load, but not 4K video content as a banner header on the website and everything else. Even some I always shudder to say it, but some cell phone video that's just really smooth and really well put together. Use that as your background art on your website. Works a hell of a lot better than google.com/stock imagery, whatever, of some generic, because people can see right through that, all the time. So just video in general on the website. Even within that, there's opportunities for shorter form video content, on the about page. Like we did one of my first clients, we did, a meet the brewers, the two guys that were behind the thing. And, I asked them 3-4, different questions and kind of just get to know who they are and what they do. That now lives on their website. So it's more than just photo and text. It's more interactive. And now it's something that you can, I can go back to the word cannibalize again. You can chop that up and you can move it into social and you can move it into Facebook and then it also lives on your About Us page. So as long as, video is the way, and obviously in my opinion, but, video is the way to get the highest levels of engagement. It's more shareable. It's more engaged with. So the more video you can have that serves your brand, cool. Awesome.
Okay, we'll wrap up this little segment on video. Thanks all for those thoughts. Now, when we talk about posting on social platforms, you hear a lot about brand voice. And I've talked to so many taproom managers and just brewery owners, and they'll just have whoever's on hand post that day. So what happens is it becomes a lot of different voices involved in the brand messaging. What are all your thoughts on keeping it consistent to one person, or do you believe that multiple people within the brewery can have a voice that's out there on social media? Warren, you're up.
Yeah. So I think it's, to me, it would be pretty important to have one person, but not necessarily just because of the voice. So voice-wise, if you've worked with somebody, like we do it all the time, we can build the guidelines behind that, right? Most of us know how to do that here. We can help you build those guidelines and make that voice, make the copy sound the same. That can be taught, that can be learned. I think a big part of keeping it that one person is actually the consistency and the analytics side and the and actually having a plan, the strategy side, what's multiple people, I can almost guarantee I can tell by looking at their social media. Or I've heard the conversation. I'm sitting in the tap room and they're like, what are we posting today? Right? And Julie, I think I was just talking on your thing the other day about something similar. That's about planning these things, right? So when that one person can do it, they can sit there and they can focus on that for a week and be ready. And that will help that voice. That's where that voice can be maintained. If it's multiple people and it's whoever's in the tap room, and they randomly put their beer on the bar and it looks like a crappy photo that they didn't take any time doing it. Well, that's what you get when you're starting to have more than one person. And then also, if you have more than one person, all of a sudden, I can guarantee you that has happened with multiple people where I responded to the same person that you responded to in the same question that was asked. Or I posted a minute after you posted because you didn't know that person took a photo and was posted. So I think it's important to have one person. Voice is one reason, but there's so many other reasons too.
Sure. Andrew, Warren jumped into he was gracious enough to help out with my group coaching program. I do like an interview with a pro. We were talking about like batch planning and content planning like ahead of time. And Amy, hopefully this is something that y'all do, or at least I'm hoping, because like we all talk from like this consultant standpoint, but it's always good to hear when somebody says like, yeah, I actually do that. It doesn't just sound good on paper, but like we talked about having like an 80-20 rule. You know how you have the 80-20 rule in business where like, so try to shoot for like 80% like planned content and then 20% like spontaneous of just like in the moment, and the importance of having like a social media scheduling tool. Like it's not just like efficient, but maybe you do have to get a bunch of people that chime in, like people from your taproom employee, like front of the house employees, back of the house employees. If you have to kind of crowdsource your media and your content, having a scheduling tool, you can set things to where like one person approves it. So then you have that one person saying like, okay, maybe your like yeast poop video doesn't like fit our brand voice, even though you might think it's super fun, somebody else probably doesn't think it fits, with the branding image. So I think you can have multiple people that help because everybody's sort of on a budget, but have like guardrails in place, of like, this is what's right for us, this is what's wrong. Like give the narrative, and then have one person that's sort of like the centralized decision maker.
I think having one person is key, especially in times of crises. If you've got something that goes left or right or center at the brewery, you want one person owning that voice and that response. And while it's an extreme case, it's definitely one you have to plan for. I guess I would just only add that 20% that Julie's talking about, I live in that 20% because I want people to know that they are part of the brand and that they're content contributors to the brand. As you know, it's difficult to get good content. But if I had an army of people with Warren's guidelines collecting content for me, I mean, I win. I might manage it, but I've got a whole new source of stuff that's real and raw and gritty and not always staged.
So once again, Scott, that sounds a little easier said than done. You want a lot of people to give you great content, but how do you motivate your team to do that for you?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, part of it is knowing the brand voice and brand personality, right? And then some breweries are even incentivizing their employees, whether it's in terms of an extra bump at their hourly wage or something at the end of the month. So, they don't need to have the title of social media manager to be creating good content.
Amy, from the brewery perspective, how many people are your brand voice? How many people are contributing, and how are you staying organized?
So we have a branding guide, which is pretty key. We use that there's a loud truck going by. We use that from every aspect of our brewery, not just social media, but of course the art we hang on our walls, etc. But we have one person that posts on the social media that writes the captions, and that one person also batch plans them out. But at our marketing meeting, the whole marketing team gets to reflect on them, bounce ideas off, and then also just kind of have a second set of eyes to question, is that in our brand or is it not in our brand? But of course, some of our resources, like our graphics person is different than our photographer. And so there is coordinating that. But again, having the consistent branding guide is so key for us.
Anybody have anything else to add to this one?
Love branding guides, love style guides. That's the Bible.
No, absolutely. Now, I want to mix it up for a sec. Scott, you are big on storytelling. We've talked today about you don't have a lot of time to capture someone's attention sometimes. So how can a brewery literally give their pitch in a one-liner or just a few words? What are your recommendations there for them to tell their story just super quick?
You hit on something that's really important to us, and that's finding your key differentiators. And it's so darn difficult nowadays with breweries who continue to step up their level of quality. So when your beers are fairly equal in your market quality-wise, then what's going to set you apart? And if it's your personality, if it's your story, if it's your one-liner, we have a hard time separating folks who started in their basement anymore. Like everybody started in their basement. So what is the one thing that you offer that your neighbors don't? I think it's worth taking the time to find that truth and then using it as a filter throughout your organization.
I like that, Scott. I think that was one of the things that you and I talked about when you and I met up too, was I think it was a handful of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, Andrew, that you asked a question in CBP, like what do you do to set yourself apart? And it's like, good beer, good atmosphere, good beer, good atmosphere, good beer, good atmosphere. Everybody had the same response. So guess what? You and the guy down the street and the woman down the street, they're all going to have good beer, good atmosphere. So now we're grading on this curve of, okay, some breweries aren't quite hitting the mark with the beer, whatever, but if you got good beer, you got good atmosphere, that ain't it anymore. I mean, that's not cutting it anymore. What are you doing to make yourself, the destination on a Friday night, not just an option? I mean, there's a reason, my wife, when she was real quick, a side story, but it goes into marketing. Like when she was pregnant, 9 months, no drinking, I said, what's the first beer you want, after Station 26 Juicy Banger? Boom. It was top of mind. It was marketing. It was quality. It was a lot more than just good beer, good atmosphere, right? It was, customer satisfaction mixed in with just remaining top of mind, remaining marketing, and then continuing to drive that point home, being that top positive touch point with your customers who have already been there and then who will continue to come back and then bring more friends back and everything else. I mean, it goes so far, that storytelling aspect of it, because that is what's unique anymore, is your specific story.
Try to stay away from those subjective terms too, like high quality ingredients, or like, it's like, who uses shitty quality ingredients? First of all, is that like a goal of yours? Probably not, and you definitely wouldn't want to market that if you're using subpar ingredients. Like, that's not attractive. So, to say like consistent quality, it's like, okay, compared to what? So like, I always think of that that Simon Sinek, like finding your why, where like it's the concentric circles. So like you keep like, start with that. That's totally fine. Like start with like high quality liquid, whatever, but then say like, so what? And then do it again, and then do it again, or like why, and so what, and so what, and so what. So you get like deeper into the core of what makes you and makes people say like, I'm going here because of this reason. Like I'm spending money on this because of this, and it should be a value add to whatever it is. And I think if you're clear about that, it really sets the stage for some great marketing afterwards.
Julie, in all your interactions, are any breweries doing a really good job of telling their story that quickly?
It's hard. I find it depends on, honestly, how much work they want to put in at the front end of things, because I find like mapping out your differentiators and coming up with a tagline is not like super sexy compared to like, what are we going to produce in the first 6 months? You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that's like super jazzy fun to do, So I think a lot of the times when brands first get started, it's like, okay, business plan. And then it's like, what are we going to make? like, or where are we going to be and what equipment are we going to buy and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that's important, but the more work that you do on the front end of all of this, it's going to save a load of time when you're actually in execution mode. If you like take time to pause and just think about it. And a lot of those baseline like building blocks, like value propositions, brand voice, guidelines, colors, fonts, logos, like stuff like that. It's not like you have to update that continuously, like set it and run with it until you find yourself where you might need a refresh or a rebrand or something.
And two, just to tag onto that, Julie, is like you've paid somebody to do a logo. I mean, you have a logo. There are certain tiers of logo design. The most basic is go to Fiverr.com and have somebody do a logo. But if you have anyone worth any branding artist worth their scissors, Warren's like shaking his head, and so am I too. I mean, don't do that. Please don't go to Fiverr. Please use a professional, because an actual professional that's worth their salt will know. I mean, just to build the fonts and the colors and everything else, and provide you with that. I mean, you're already investing in this logo design. It should come hand in hand with any good graphic designer, any branding designer worth their salt, lime, and tequila.
Hey, real quickly, I think there's a difference between a tagline and a story. I think that's worth mentioning. We've got an iconic brewery here, left hand, and from our hand to yours is a tagline. But if you're scrolling through your phone on a Friday night and you're from out of town and you're looking for a brewery near me, and you go to 3 homepages and one says from our hand to yours and the other one says for beer drinkers, pinball wizards, and dogs. Okay. I mean, now if I fit into that category, if that's me, then I'll go there because they told me what I'll get.
Are you a pinball wizard?
I wish.
No, he's a dog. I mean,
and I think that's a good point, Scott, too, is that maybe people should remember that you're not going to get everybody on the first try, right? The goal is to get them there. So if this one ad or this one post or this particular community event or whatever it is, get somebody new there, then just because it didn't get those other people there yet doesn't mean that you're failing. It means that you just have to do something else to get those other people there. So many times people like, we've been open for 3 years and no one knows me. Hey, like, chill out. Why don't they know you? Figure it out. Digest it a little bit. Like, kind of get to the gritty of it, because I bet they do know you. Maybe it was an experience they had that made them not like you. And then if they don't know you, that's cool. Maybe you need to do more community events. Maybe, there's a solution to get people to know you better. So I'm glad you mentioned that particular angle, Scott, because like I'm sitting here thinking about it and I'm like, well, yeah, some people are going to respond differently to the other thing, right? Some people don't care what the ad said or the post said. They're like, I've been planning to go to Left Hand because I've been wanting to go there anytime I've ever visited here.
Now, I want to mix it up to a recent thread we had in CBP. There was someone who works at a small town brewery, and they were wondering how they can make more out-of-towners, visit their brewery, or how can they market to people outside of their area. Amy, you're in a small town, right?
Yes, I am.
So is that something that is part of your marketing plan, reaching people outside of, Frankfurt? Am I right?
Frankfurt, that's cool. Right.
So is that part of the plan?
It definitely is in the off season. So we're a very tourist town. We're right on the shore of Lake Michigan. In the winter, we try to market towards skiers and snowboarders and snowmobilers that come up in the winter, as well as creating events that make it feel more like a destination. In the summer, we are very fortunate. We have too many people that come up, and we're lucky that way. But I think that if that were not the case, that we would continue to somehow make our place intentionally a destination and market it that way.
So during the off season, how are you succeeding with that?
One thing we do is we have a curling league that people that are already all about the outdoor sports and stuff, winter sports, they are interested to try it. There's not a lot of opportunities in the area to do that. So that's one thing. Additionally, we have multiple events a month. We do all kinds of creative things, from adult spelling bees to essay writing contests and things that we really reach out
Essay
to.
writing contest. I haven't heard that one before. I've heard the adult spelling bee. That's fun.
But things that we put out to the greater Michigan community. In Grand Rapids and Detroit, we get a lot of people from those areas that think it's not too far. So we really, a lot of advertisements that we pay for, we focus on those markets.
So I can't. Probably not the only one interested in a essay writing contest, right? Am I right? Everybody else interested? Like
drink about 3 or 4 different barrel aged stouts, and then write an essay on.
Yeah, what are the topics barrel aged stouts in the signing?
Well, the most recent ones have been more like story writing. So we give people a prompt or a line, or they have to include the name of one of our beers in it. And then we have judges, like local writers from the area. Judge them.
So are you getting writers involved in this event intentionally, or are they showing up? How's that playing out?
We get them intentionally. We reach out, we email pretty much all of the colleges in the greater area. And we sometimes even have little elementary schoolers that enter. It's quite a broad range of people that are professional writers to very much not professional.
I love that, because you have a great activity, but you're bringing in a target audience who might not normally be coming out.
Right.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But at least she knows the target audience. I think that's like the 10,000 foot view. Amy, I would totally come to that, by the way.
Awesome. Well, you're invited. I'll let you know next time.
But there's an awareness there. Again, it's kind of like super not fun to spend time on a tagline, but totally worth it. But, spend some time getting to know your audience and like who's drinking your products or who might want to, and then figure out what they like to do and meet them where they're at, like with hobbies and interests and things like that. And then you can kind of reverse engineer like where to find them, whether it's like online advertising or teaming up with somebody in the community or something like that.
Scott, so I know you're passionate about helping breweries create strategies to bring in out-of-towners in. What do you have to add to the conversation?
I'd start with the low-hanging fruit that's free. Honestly, I think it's undervalued. Updating your Facebook hours of operations and your Google Maps entries and all this stuff. Actually, we don't think about it because we immediately go to boosted posts and ad spend, but you can attract a lot of eyeballs with the free stuff.
Anyone else have anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I mean, we just expanded into the Madison, Wisconsin market, the Wisconsin market in general, after coming from Denver. And one of the big focuses that I'm making right now is to brand Wisconsin as more of a destination, a beer destination, without we're in such that the infancy stages of it, but partnering with the guild, partnering with like tourism boards, partnering with what else can we do? Is there somebody in Milwaukee that does really great PR for local magazines or local TV, whatever it is? Is there somebody that's really badass at partnerships too? I mean, I think marketing is the content, right? I mean, we talk about content, photos all day and social media all day, but that other part of it is what my friend and colleague Tristan Chan is like really good at. It's just partnerships and marketing in that way, and just making people, it's the handshakes. It's how many handshakes can you make, and what does, say, WeldWorks. I work with Tristan at WeldWorks, and him partnering with Meow Wolf was like, oh my god, it's just these really obscure kind of things that, holy shit, this really does match the brand, and it's it helps the brand take off so much more. It's so valuable to have somebody on staff or on retainer, whatever it is, that can think about those things outside of the tap room.
I think that ties into when you're thinking about your marketing, and even going all the way back to thinking ahead and planning ahead in terms of what Julie said earlier, when you're doing your business and you're doing all this, is having that thought process of, it's not just about social media. It's not just about one thing. There's so much That's why Andrew, I think the last thing we did together was like, are you half-assing your marketing, right? And it's because there's so much that you could be missing that, like Scott said too, could be free or cheap or relatively free, or a partnership that's local, that they're looking to partner up, right? I know, like right now we're doing something in Bryant's territory with Third Space. We're doing a grilling campaign. Is it this huge thing? Not huge, but it's meant to be kind of like this side, hey, you can grill with this beer. We have recipes. I have an entire recipe page of just like a bunch of fun recipes using Third Space beer. So this thing is not this huge push. This thing's not this huge, out of your way thing. It's just, hey, we're doing some recipes. We're making people think about, or making a different crowd or audience potentially think about using that product. Then we can partner with somebody like you Singers or one of these local sausage companies or meat companies in Wisconsin. And they can join. So anyway, I think it's really cool if you take a step back and look at what all are you doing so that you can utilize all the free stuff that's at your fingertips, or your connections. Because everybody who's starting a brewery at some point in time, they probably know a few other people who own businesses in the area. Like, use those connections, see what you can do to make it happen.
Google Analytics. I'm just gonna throw that out there. It is. It's creepy as all get out, but it's going to give you so much information. It's like Big Brother for free for your brand. And it can give you so many good ideas of like where your website traffic is coming from. Like, where are those people located? Maybe it'll give you ideas for the next market to expand to based on like the number of fans that you have in other territories that are like outside of your backyard. But it's totally free. It's very confusing. I will say this right now. I've been using it for a very long time, and I still do not fully understand the depth of Google Analytics. But getting yourself set up with a tag to place like on your website, things like that. There's some really great walkthroughs. It's just a click, like step-by-step thing, and you'll be able to see how effective your social is, how your website's doing, how your email marketing is faring, like all those different channels that Warren was talking about, like outside of social media, like get outside of that a little bit more, because marketing is like full stack, like how we used to use that term like back in the day. And what that meant was now I think they call it just like omni-channel is like a fancy name for it now. But it just means you're marketing in different places, like all at the same time, and you're covering different bases. So Google Analytics, just take the time to learn it. There's some really great freebie educators for Google Analytics on YouTube.
I was going to say it's free to use too, right? Like that goes back to what you have reiterated as well, is like, hey, the free stuff, use the free stuff, figure out, because sometimes, so many people, it is not the easiest thing to understand SEO, but you can find somebody that's pretty affordable to help you fix up your SEO and improve it. Doesn't have to be this huge, overhead that you're going to have to spend on getting somebody to do it. You can usually find somebody to help it clean it up. And I tell you what, man, like that goes so far, as good SEO can take you places and really help get you out there.
Warren and Julie, you've talked a lot about Google Analytics, SEO. Where should someone start if they're looking to learn more? Any resources that you found helpful over the years?
Yeah, I always
don't say Google. You're not allowed to say Google.
No. I'm going to tell you HubSpot.
It's perfect.
So HubSpot is it does multiple things, but it's considered like a marketing and sales hub software tool. So it will help you manage sales. It has a CRM function. It'll help you manage your marketing. You can keep track of your advertising efforts. But there's a lot of paid versions, but HubSpot has built a business model that is pillared on providing content for people that will educate folks. So that is my go-to resource. Like if you don't understand some of these concepts, or by the way, SEO is search engine optimization, just for anybody that doesn't speak marketing.
Lesson 1, what does SEO stand for?
Just in case. But they have a lot of great 10 steps to get started with SEO, or how to set up your Google Analytics, your G4 tag, or, you know, how to get started with social media marketing. And that is one of my absolutely favorite websites to direct people to.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say HubSpot's awesome, and then if you build it out, you can pay for it and manage a lot more through it too, and that's pretty great. I actually just threw that link, and thanks Andrew for throwing that in there. The Google Analytics Academy, they have it, and they'll actually go through you with it if you don't want to do a HubSpot account for some reason. I would also follow Julie's recommendation and do a HubSpot account, but this is also another source. Like, hey, go check it out. They'll help you out. A lot of times if you sign up, you get things going, they'll want to hop on a call with you. Don't do the call. Just go through this. The call is to try to sell you, to make you do more ads. I promise you, don't do the call. Just go through the Google Analytics Academy. Yeah, do the call with someone like Julie or Scott or anybody else on here. Don't do the call with Google's people. They're just going to try to make you spend more money.
But do the call with Facebook. So I'm going to be really sad if I don't mention this. There's something called Facebook Blueprint that is for small business owners. And it walks you through like how to use Facebook for entrepreneurs. And they want you to spend money on that platform. Therefore, they are going to provide you with all kinds of tools to get you started. And that is the only time that I've ever physically talked to a human that works for Facebook, is when I said, hey, I wasn't, but I was seeing if I could talk to a human. I'm confused about Facebook advertising. And literally within 24 hours, I had a phone call from a person at Facebook, which doesn't happen very often. But so if you're thinking about doing social media advertising, go to Facebook Blueprint and go through the steps. There's lots of good stuff there.
Awesome. So let's shut our computer screens down for a minute and talk more traditional advertising. Is it worth it for a brewery to advertise on newspapers, radio ads, things like that? Is that still a way we should be reaching customers?
I think you got to think about who you're trying to target, right? I mean, if that's probably what you were exactly going to say, Scott. Like who are you trying to target? I mean, if that's something that you need to do, again, Stormcloud, if you're in a rural area, like what is it a bus ad? Is it a bus bench ad? Whatever it is. I would
totally sit on that bench, Bryant.
Yeah, all day. Be one of those homeless guys sleeping on it, just next to the IPA, just like sleeping next to the stuff. I had a client in Littleton, Colorado, who, still does mailers. I don't necessarily know how effective they were. They seem to think they were, relatively effective just because they live in the area where it's, 45 to 65-year-olds and it's these larger houses and these folks that have kids, but, maybe they're in college, or so it's really about like, where are you? Period. Are you Stormcloud Brewing, in more rural Michigan? Are you, in downtown Denver? Or are you in downtown Madison? And then B, who are you trying to target? Is it, or do they read newspapers? Who reads newspapers anymore? Is it that demographic? I mean, I definitely think folks want to go to social because it is that 18 to 35, or it is that 35 to 55. That is the target. I mean, women 35 to 55, and even subsections of that, we could get into subsections of that are the spenders, are the family spenders and everything, and kind of dictate what goes where. So is it valuable? I mean, that's kind of more research that needs to be done in your specific market. I don't think there's one specific answer for that.
No, Amy, are you using any unique channels to reach people in Frankfurt?
We definitely feel that print is on its way out, but we do use it because of our tend to be older demographic, as well as just maintaining connections with the owners of newspapers and stuff in our area. We like to just support local, and that's honestly just as much as why we do it then for really positive marketing. But we do have a billboard, or a couple billboards that are right on a couple of the main roads that tourists come in, that tout our location, as well as the fact that we distribute, which people don't always know. But we really primarily stick to web ads and social media ads.
I think whether or not newspapers exist, Warren, is probably up for debate. However, press releases exist, and I feel like it's underutilized. We have stories, we have moments to share about our breweries, and we're not sharing them. Again, it's free tools. If you curate a list of 20 media friendlies in your area and you send them out once a quarter, once a month, once a year, information about your brewery, they will talk about you. That's free advertising. Use it.
That's literally, sorry, go ahead, Julie.
No. I was just going to say, for anyone listening that's like in a weird area, don't be afraid to like use those highway exit signs. You know what I mean? Like if you're close to an interstate or something, those can still be effective. So, or even like billboards in certain areas of town, like that kind of print stuff, I think still works really well. And then I'm going to mention somebody that's in CBP, and hopefully he's still there, but Colfax Ale Cellar that's in Raton, New Mexico. I'm going to say that wrong. But anyways, it's out in the middle of nowhere. But because of his large signage, like on the highway, he gets people to exit and make their way across to that little town to increase foot traffic. So it still happens. That's my example there. Go ahead, Warren.
No, I was just saying that with what Scott was going on with the press release, I am a big supporter of proper press release and making friends with press, whether it is kind of in the way that Amy mentioned of sticking friendlies with your newspaper, your local newspaper or whatever. But I love, the press events, maybe even building press events at your brewery that are focused on having the press out to check out something new exclusively first, get them the chance to try the product, whatever it might be, before other folks get the chance, right? So I love using the press release side. I'm a little hesitant personally on the billboards, but sometimes I know they can work. I think the bigger the brand or the more isolated the brand, the better the billboard will work. So if you're kind of not in a huge city and maybe you're one of the only places out there, I can see it working better than putting a billboard up in Nashville. Because the only brands that really do that kind of stuff here would be like a Bud Light. And that's because it's subliminal marketing, right? It's just meant to be there as you're driving by. You don't even register it. You just, somewhere in your brain, you're like, I need beer. And that billboard pulls it from your recollection and says, yeah, you need a Bud Light. So that's mainly where I would tell people. I'm usually not all for billboards, but I do like the idea in certain areas. And I think the biggest thing here would be, Scott, when you mentioned the press releases and kind of sweeten up your press. They're all looking for content, just like us, right? So we give them content, they're pumped. And that's press or newspaper, or a press release that's digital or a newspaper that's print. I think both would be down for it.
Warren, one thing that resonated with me that you just said was inviting press out to your, tap room for a special event. I was talking to a few tap room owners and managers out in Savannah River Brewing Company, and I believe they're in Augusta. I could be getting that wrong, but I think that's where they're at. We had a call recently, and they were hosting an event and inviting event planners to showcase their space for these event planners to host future events. And I thought that was awesome. They were going all out to get these important decision makers who are running the weddings, they're running the private parties, they're hosting corporate events, to get them in the space one time and to wow them at once. I thought that was a really cool idea. So I think having fun partners like that, whether it's the press, promoters, whoever it may be, local community organizations, are an awesome way to grow and build your audience. But we've talked a lot about events today. Yes, Warren, you have a question.
I just have one more note at the end of that for you. So if you are a brewery that distributes or not, I guess really if you distribute, though, keep those events in mind for your distribution team or your accounts or local, buyers or whatever it might be, because it doesn't just have to be press. There's so many opportunities to have. It's the cheapest way to market your business, right? Have them in your brewery, let them drink, 20 cents worth of beer per pint or so, if you're, if that, on depending on what the product is, I guess, and enjoy like very, very cheap marketing. And I promise you, if you build a cool experience for them to come to, and they get to feel like a VIP, you will have more advocates and brand ambassadors for your business than anything else. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, it's all about taking your most loyal fans and making them even more loyal and more sticky to your brand. Now, I want to do, in the true spirit of rapid fire, let's go in a circle real quick, starting with Scott. You get no prep time. what's one of the coolest events you've seen a brewery really anywhere, whether it's one you work with, whether it's one you've seen halfway across the country? What's a really neat event you've seen promoted over the past little while?
Too much prep time. Move on.
Yeah, bicycle tuning prior to big races.
Okay. Amy, you've already given one great example, and I think we really love that essay writing contest. But anything else you'd like to throw out there?
I've seen a brewery that does a kickball tournament annually, and I love that idea. I'm a fan of kickball, but I think it's more accessible than, say, baseball or softball. People that don't have that hand-eye coordination as much, but also who doesn't love to drink while playing sports.
Absolutely. Bryant?
Outdoor camping trailers, s'more station, and barrel-aged stouts. 3 different companies co-marketing each other.
Love it. Julie?
Oh, Bryant kind of stole mine. I was trying to think. I will say this. Okay, randomly, Lady Justice in Aurora, Colorado, they did period building kits, which this is very like female focused, but it's also community driven in that they brought people together to assemble kits for females that are in need for things with their personal health, personal hygiene as well. And so it brought people in, but then they also dispersed it out to the community together. And it was supposed to be a one-time thing, and now it was so popular that they're repeating it now as like an ongoing event.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that one. Warren?
Yeah. So Brian actually did steal mine. No, I do have a client that's been doing a brewers s'mores like hangout sets where they pop a bunch of vintage bottles and let the brewers come out and talk to people. But another idea that we've had in the past and that we've seen be pretty successful so far is actually doing we called it as a joke internally food dinner, right? So everybody does a beer dinner out to the world at the count, but why can't you have a chef come to the brewery, set up inside the brewery, and one of our clients, it's ideal, they have tanks all around where it can be set up at, and do a full course meal there and get to be able to pull a beer off the Bright tank, right? Again, building that experience. So pretty much my recommendation here would be anything that you can build this unique experience and goes back to why you're special and why you're different other than the atmosphere and other than your beer being good. I think you can win on it, right? I mean, we've done a Smash only beer festival before where everybody that was invited, all the breweries could only make Smash beers, and that was fun and unique. But you know, what is the feeling that a customer gets when they're there? And I think if you can do these food dinners, or you can do something similar like that, where you're doing this bottle share around the fire, roasted marshmallows, or whatever it might be, there's an experience there, right? And that all it takes that one time of them experiencing this higher level atmosphere. You know, it's still atmosphere driven, right? It's higher level atmosphere that really gets them excited, and then they're hooked.
Awesome. Thanks, Warren. And speaking of experience, I know out at CBC, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Arrive. They had a Smash the Craft event where you literally got to go smash a car. And everybody was talking about it because it was just the most random thing that they'd wanted to do for a long time. But it was something people loved, and it was the talk of the town that week. So it was an awesome event.
That's cool.
You know, and as we wind this down, I've got one final question for you five. That question is, what are you listening to right now, or what are you reading, and how can people get in contact with you? So it's kind of like 3 questions all roll up in one, but you know, pick 2 out of 3. What are you listening to or reading, and how can people reach out to you?
Oh goodness, I'll go first. I'm just going to toss myself in here. You can find me on all the social things at Not Your Hobby Marketing, notyourhobbymarketing.com on the interwebs. If you're on Twitter, someone stole my handle, so it's Not Your Hobby MS. You just hunt them down, whoever did that. I am actually reading The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which speaks to like my nerdy management consulting side. That's like painfully nerdy that I'm reading that. I'm also reading Buyer Personas, which is another nerdy book. So, but it's a good one if you're exploring your target audience as well. I'm listening to Liquid Assets by Rabobank. It's a podcast, and it has a lot to do with beverage alcohol, but a lot to do with the economy as well. So if you want to kind of elevate your market knowledge.
You're the second person to recommend that to me recently. Cool.
That's good stuff. Smart people talking about smart things.
Who's up next?
I'll go.
Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Okay. So you can reach me at amy@stormcloudbrewing.com. You can also find me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is at polkadots_pints. I am currently listening to the band Wet Leg. I think they're phenomenal.
Oh, I like how you went music. Good call on that.
I just immediately went to podcast. I should have done that.
And I am reading a book about Edie Sedgwick. I can't remember what it's called, but she was like Andy Warhol's muse, and I think she's very interesting.
I will have to check out Wet Lake following this call. And Bryant, Scott, and Warren don't know how to read, so we're not expecting any answers from them today.
Yeah. Well, and I just got again moving and everything, and I just got internet today, so I haven't really been listening to anything except my air conditioning turning on and off. So that's been my thing at the moment. You know, book wise, I'm definitely looking into it's more of a freelance business book. It's literally called Freelance and Business and Stuff. I've read it once now, and reading it again because we're looking and opening up like studio space, and they have a couple different chapters on studio space. So it's a lot of selfish things that I'm doing right now for myself. So that's what I'm. Yeah, and other than that, man, I'm just at Full Pour Media, fullpourmedia.com. I'll drop my email and social in the comments of the live on the CBP page. But other than that, yeah, I all five of you and kind of Andrew, 5.5 of you, love hanging out with you guys for sure.
Awesome. Well, glad you're getting settled nicely.
Yeah.
Warren or Scott, who's next?
I'm good either way. You want to go?
Go ahead, Warren.
Okay, cool. So right now I'm actually reading one of my mentors, a book that he just came out with. I love him. He's kind of forced me to read it, but he's a CMO. It's called the Fractional CMO method, and it's basically about building yourself as a fractional CMO for companies. And so I'm reading that. It's not a big, thick read or anything like that. And then listening, actually, I think I was most recently listening to Blue Suede, Hooked on a Feeling. I went with music too, Amy, because I wasn't listening to anything special. I think I'm watching like the Dumbledore. I can't remember the full name, but the newest Strange Beast or the newest Harry Potter thing. I'm watching that on HBO. I like that. I'm waiting for the Boys to come out again on Amazon Prime. That was kind of crazy.
Good stuff, Warren. Last but not least, Scott, you are up.
All right, I forgot.
Warren's confusing Dumbledore with Stranger Things. He's like, which streaming service am I using today? I'm not paying for either one of them. So, hey, I like out of industry stuff because I feel like we learn quite a bit when we go into the wine sector, the whiskey sector, the non-alc sector, THC and cannabis. Like, I like VinePair because I think it's smart, and I think they cover a lot of different ground. As far as listening, I was going to say something about 80s alt rock, but Amy took that away. So you can reach me at scott@marketyourcraft.com or marketyourcraft.com.
Well, Scott, Amy, Bryant, Julie, yes, Warren.
I never said my information.
Okay, your information, please.
It's I'm Beer Marketeers, info@beermarketeers.com, and you can find us on there. You can also call me at 850-764-BEER. Yeah, that's a Google phone number. I just had to put that out. That's the only reason why I wanted to say it.
Can you say it one more time? Because that was pretty awesome.
Ooh, 850-764-BEER.
That's pretty
Warren's
good.
about to get signed up for a bunch of cat facts text messages from me. So.
I was actually hoping. So I'm ready.
Well, Warren, Julie, and Bryant, I am so excited to see you in St. Louis in just a few weeks. And anybody else listening, you can still get your ticket, stlouis.craftbeerprofessionals.org. Hope to see you for CBP Connects. And Scott and Amy, we got to have beers before too long. But I appreciate all of you joining today. We'll see y'all soon. Cheers.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.